Hello there, welcome back to Jennie Designs with Paper. Thank you for stopping by my channel. I'm working with die cuts today, so get comfy and let's get crafty. I have a stack of honeybee stamp products on my desk. This is the stamp and die set that was the August freebie. I'm also working with the Lovely Layers apple barrel and Lovely Layers wheel die cut and a stash of cardstock scraps from my desktop. I have run all of those dies through my die cut machine and pulled out this waffle flower ink blending mat, and I am going to emphasize the dimension that is created by these dies with some ink blending. So we're going to super speed through this because there's a lot of ink blending to get through. The top rim of this tire, the wheel, does have that wood grain embossed into it because it's a wooden wheel, and the basket or the barrel does have that wood grain texture as well. So I'm using mostly Concord and Ninth, wow, words are hard, ink cubes today, and I'm being very light-handed. I want the ink to only rub on the raised portion of the texture of of the images. So this barrel has two pieces. It has the back barrel, and there's really only texture on that back side of the lip, and then the front side is all textured. I have die cut some apples in 3 colors. I will not use all of them, but I die cut them so that I had enough. I'm adding some shading to one side of each of the apples. This die set also comes with some little blossoms. They look a little bit like magnolia or dogwood blossoms. So once I have all of the apples inked up, I'm going to move on to inking up the leaves, and I'm just tapping them straight at the top to just add a little bit of dimension to the center. Same with the flowers. I just took the ink that was left over in my yellow blending brush and just mushed it down onto the center of the flowers, even though they have those little yellow centers die cut as well. So now it's time to put everything together. The wheel has the background, the foreground, and then the hub is 2 pieces. The hub and the band to the barrel I cut out of a brown glimmer. It's not a glimmer paper, it's an pearlescent paper. It's a die cuts with a view pearlescent paper pad is what it is. And it's a kind of a coppery brown, or not coppery, a blackish brown. What is that? There's a word for that I don't know. I can't think of it right now. Sorry. I'm putting the little bit of foam tape in between my barrel layers because I want to be able to slide a couple layers of apples in between or into that barrel. This die set also comes with stems for the apples. I did not cut enough stems or enough leaves originally, so off camera when I got done putting everything else together, I did go back through and cut some more leaves and some more stems so that all of my apples and all of my flowers had stems and leaves. I ended up using 2 of each of the 3 colors of apples, and I cut, 6 or 8 of the little flowers, but I only used part of them. And the ones I didn't use, I just put into the package with my die set, and I can use them on another project. So the centers of these little flowers have the stamen, I think is what it's called, in the middle. I'm not a flower person, y'all. But now we're going to move on to a card assembly. I've pulled out a brown card base. This is a US A2 size card, and a piece of green pattern paper from my stash. It is darker than the apples, but in the same tone, so I think it goes really well. And I'm going to I'm going to fidget with it for a while, and then I'm going to try and figure out how to put this together. And I decided that I just needed to put the apples in independently, and I needed to put them in and glue them in place one at a time. That every time I tried to put them in as a group, I just shoved the others down into the barrel. So I am kind of staggering them. I want them to play off of each other. And yeah, I don't know. Not a huge rhyme or reason, except for trying really hard not to put the green apples on the green background because that would blend in and look weird. And not to have them all up exactly, straight up and down. They're in a barrel. They're not going to be straight up and down. So once we have all the apples in the barrel, I contemplated using those other apples, but decided not to. I need to assemble the leaves and the blossoms and then figure out exactly where I'm going to put them. Yeah, that took a minute. I don't know. There's a lot of things that you can do with die cuts, and I really think it just comes down to composition. So there is this in design work in general, especially when you're talking visual design, there's this idea of the rule of thirds, and that is breaking your surface into a grid, like a tic-tac-toe grid, and making 3 in a row, whether that is horizontally or diagonally, or making an L shape, because that is pleasing to the eye and to the brain. And I don't know the psychology behind it, and I'm probably explaining it less than effectively. But I tried to remember, so the apples are kind of in the center group there, but I've got the wheel and the basket kind of making a little bit of a diagonal down the front of my card. And then I did a little bit of an L with 2 flowers on the bottom and 1 going up the side, but then I wanted more behind the apples, so it kind of makes more like a U. So I don't know if my card really fits that rule of thirds, but each element kind of fits the rules of thirds, kind of, until I got crazy with the flower blossoms and the leaves. But it really comes down to what looks good to you. If you like it and you find it pleasing, then you've created something beautiful. And I am too hard on myself sometimes. I'm looking for this perfection that is really not achievable. I mean, let's be honest, it's not really something that can be achieved every single time, maybe. But anyway, I've stamped my harvest stamp onto some white cardstock. I'm going to cut it out with the coordinating die. And then I'm going to pull in some other honeybee label dies to cut out the word blessings. And I'm going to add those to the front of my card. I use these little banner dies for that word blessings. Anyway, like I was saying, I think that as creators and card makers and crafters, that we need to please ourselves. And if we like how our project is turning out, that really is the best starting point, right? This is kind of my therapeutic release. You know, being a mom and a wife and a human is overwhelming sometimes. And this crafting is how I focus on something that pleases me. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love being in my craft room. I love creating. I love playing with paper, and I love playing with products. And I'm really trying hard to just focus on creating something that I find beautiful, even if it doesn't necessarily always follow the rules. I hope you enjoyed the video today. I have a couple of other videos here I think you would like. I've also added that subscribe button. If you haven't yet, I would love it if you subscribed. Leave me a comment down below. Tell me how you feel when you're creating. Is it a release or is it a job? Give me a thumbs up and have a really fabulous day.